11 disgusting Golden Age actors you were tricked into liking. They were the golden gods of Hollywood's most glamorous era, shining icons whose faces adorned countless posters on bedroom walls, whose names lit up marquees and drew millions of theaters, and whose public images seemed to embody the very best of American values. But behind the carefully crafted personas was a darker, far more disturbing reality, one the studios worked tirelessly to keep hidden from the public eye. Today, we're tearing down the curtain and revealing the truth about 11 beloved Golden Age actors whose off-screen lives were marred by behavior so troubling, sometimes outright criminal, that it would have ended their careers instantly had audiences known. From predatory exploitation to vicious abuse, these were not just stars with a few regrettable flaws. They were deeply compromised individuals whose true natures would shock even their most devoted fans. And perhaps the most unsettling part, the calculated and systematic deception that allowed them to remain admired for decades. These weren't occasional lapses in judgment that could be excused as products of their time or forgiven under the guise of changing societal standards. No, these were deliberate, ongoing patterns of misconduct that the studio's publicists and even the media knowingly concealed from the public. For every charming, charismatic performance delivered on screen, there was a hidden army of Hollywood fixers working in the shadows, ensuring assault allegations were buried, silencing victims through intimidation or payoffs, and scrubbing any public record of drunken outbursts, racist rants, or abusive behavior. Hollywood wasn't just in the business of making movies. It was in the business of manufacturing flawless illusions, images so pristine they often had little to no resemblance to the deeply flawed and sometimes dangerous individuals behind them. By the time you finish this video, you'll see that the most convincing roles these stars ever played weren't in the films that made them famous. Their greatest performances were the fictional personas they maintained off-screen. Characters designed to fool generations of moviegoers into loving someone who didn't truly exist. But before we plunge into Hollywood's hidden shadows, here's something a bit lighter. I'm giving away a $10 Amazon gift card to one random subscriber who leaves a comment below. All you have to do is tell me which of these stars shocked you the most, and you'll be entered to win. Now let's dive in. The Golden Age of Hollywood created an unprecedented star-making system, a glittering dream factory that could transform ordinary individuals into immortal icons. But beneath the glitz and glamour was a dark underbelly, one that prioritized profit over morality. Protecting valuable stars meant protecting their reputations at all costs, no matter how vile or destructive their private behavior might have been. Studio titans like Louis B. Mayer and Jack Warner oversaw entire departments dedicated solely to burying scandals, paying off victims, and fabricating spotless public images that often directly contradicted the truth. MGM, for instance, enforced infamous morality clauses that gave them near total control over every aspect of a star's public life, while Warner Brothers maintained an intricate web of police connections capable of making charges vanish overnight. It wasn't a system designed to protect people, it was a system designed to protect investments. Now, let's uncover the disturbing reality behind 11 of Hollywood's most beloved stars, legends whose glittering public images masked the ugly truths the industry never wanted you to see. 1. Clark Gable, the king's darkest secret. For decades, Clark Gable reigned as the king of Hollywood. His performance as Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind cemented his status as the ultimate leading man, strong, charismatic, and irresistible to women. When he died in 1960, obituaries uniformly celebrated a career untainted by scandal, the perfect Hollywood icon. What audiences weren't told was that during the filming of The Call of the Wild in 1935, Gable allegedly assaulted his co-star Loretta Young, an attack that resulted in pregnancy. Young, a devout Catholic who wouldn't consider abortion, went to extraordinary lengths to conceal the truth, temporarily disappearing from public view before staging an elaborate adoption of her own biological daughter. MGM not only covered up Gable's alleged crime, but pressured Young into an elaborate charade that forced her to publicly lie. For decades, Young was made to discover and adopt her own biological child, then raise her daughter under the fiction that she wasn't the girl's natural mother, all to protect Gable's valuable reputation. Only at the end of her life did Young confirm the true nature of what happened. After watching a television program about date assault in the 1990s, she reportedly turned to her daughter-in-law and said, "That's what happened between me and Clark." This belated recognition that what she had experienced wasn't a seduction but an assault came decades too late for any accountability. Even after Young's daughter, Judy Lewis, published a memoir in 1994 confirming Gable as her father, many film historians continued romanticizing Gable and Young's affair, refusing to acknowledge the non-consensual nature of the encounter even when the victim's own family confirmed it. Errol Flynn defined the swashbuckling hero for generations of moviegoers. His dashing performances in films like Captain Blood and The Adventures of Robin Hood established him as cinema's ultimate adventurer, charming, athletic, and irresistible. With his devilish smile and perfect physique, Flynn embodied a carefree, romantic ideal that made him one of Warner Brothers' most valuable stars. This carefully cultivated image concealed something far darker. In 1942, Flynn was charged with statutory assault of two teenage girls, Betty Hansen and Peggy Sadler, ages 17 and 16, respectively. Though he was ultimately acquitted in a trial that became a media sensation, the evidence presented painted a disturbing picture of a man who systematically pursued underage girls. Errol Flynn, the swashbuckling star of Captain Blood and The Adventures of Robin Hood, was beloved for his daring on-screen heroics, but his off-screen exploits were far more scandalous. Flynn's womanizing was legendary, and he was infamous for pursuing much younger women. In 1942, Flynn faced statutory rape charges involving two underage girls. Although he was acquitted, thanks in part to a defense that attacked the girls' credibility, the trial cemented his reputation as one of Hollywood's most notorious predators. Flynn embraced his bad boy image, even joking about the accusations in public, but behind the bravado was a deeply troubled man who drank heavily, partied endlessly, and left a trail of broken lives in his wake. John Wayne. To millions, John Wayne was the embodiment of rugged American masculinity. But the man behind the cowboy hat was a far cry from the noble heroes he portrayed. Wayne was known for his racist views, openly stating in a 1971 interview that he believed in white supremacy and opposed Native American land rights. Off-screen, he had a reputation for bullying and intimidation. Crew members and co-stars described him as domineering and at times verbally abusive, particularly toward those who disagreed with him politically or challenged his authority. While Wayne's patriotism was a cornerstone of his public image, his decision to avoid serving in World War II, choosing instead to focus on his career, sparked criticism, especially given his later portrayals of war heroes. Joan Crawford. On screen, Joan Crawford was the glamorous, ambitious star of films like Mildred Pierce. Off-screen, her reputation took a dramatic turn after the release of her adopted daughter Christina's memoir, Mommy Dearest. The book, and the subsequent film, depicted Crawford as a cruel, abusive mother who subjected her children to harsh punishments, emotional manipulation, and physical beatings. While some have questioned the accuracy of Christina's account, others who knew Crawford privately have supported claims of her volatile temper and obsessive need for control. Crawford's perfectionism and iron made her a Hollywood powerhouse, but they also contributed to her reputation as one of the most difficult and demanding stars of her time. Charlie Chaplin. Beloved worldwide as the Little Tramp, Charlie Chaplin was a comedic genius whose influence on cinema is immeasurable. But his personal life was riddled with scandal. Chaplin had a well-documented pattern of pursuing relationships with teenage girls. He married 4 times, with 3 of his wives being teenagers at the time of their wedding. In 1943, Chaplin faced a paternity suit involving actress Joan Barry. While blood tests indicated he was not the father, the scandal, coupled with his leftist political leanings, severely damaged his reputation in the United States. The controversy contributed to his decision to leave America and live in exile for the rest of his life. Judy Garland. America's sweetheart from The Wizard of Oz endured a lifetime of exploitation at the hands of the Hollywood studio system. Signed to MGM as a teenager, Garland was subjected to a grueling work schedule, given amphetamines to stay awake and sleeping pills to rest. While Garland's addictions and personal struggles have often been framed as tragic consequences of fame, the reality is that the system deliberately created her dependency to maintain control. Executives constantly criticized her weight, appearance, and performance, leading to lifelong self-esteem issues. Her troubled personal relationships and financial instability were the direct result of an industry that profited from her talent while disregarding her well-being. Spencer Tracy. A respected actor known for his powerful performances, Spencer Tracy had a darker side that rarely made headlines. Tracy was a functioning alcoholic whose heavy drinking often led to violent outbursts. He was notorious for being verbally abusive toward co-stars and crew when drunk. Though married, Tracy engaged in a decades-long affair with Katharine Hepburn, which, while romanticized in Hollywood lore, was deeply complicated by his alcoholism and emotional volatility. Behind the image of the thoughtful, kind-hearted actor was a man wrestling with demons he could not conquer. Marlon Brando. Hailed as one of the greatest actors of all time, Marlon Brando's brilliance was matched only by his erratic and often cruel behavior. Known for being difficult on set, Brando frequently clashed with directors and co-stars, sometimes deliberately sabotaging scenes to assert control. In his personal life, Brando's relationships were tumultuous, marked by infidelity and emotional manipulation. His own children spoke openly about the chaos and dysfunction that surrounded him, particularly during the tragic events involving his son Christian and daughter Cheyenne. Despite his advocacy for civil rights and Native American causes, Brando's private conduct often contradicted the ideals he championed publicly. Bing Crosby. The warm, soothing voice behind White Christmas masked a cold and often cruel father. In a memoir, Crosby's son, Gary, described a household ruled by fear, where physical punishments were severe and affection was scarce. Crosby's public image as a genial, family-friendly entertainer was carefully cultivated, but those closest to him painted a portrait of a man whose need for control and discipline overshadowed any warmth. His strict, often harsh parenting style left deep emotional scars on his children. Fredric March. A two-time Academy Award winner, Fredric March was celebrated for his versatility as an actor. However, in 2017, his legacy was tarnished when it was revealed that as a college student, he had been a member of an organization with white supremacist ties. While some argued this was a youthful indiscretion, others saw it as part of a troubling pattern of racist attitudes. Although March later supported civil rights causes, the revelation cast a shadow over his reputation, raising difficult questions about how much a person's past should affect their legacy. Conclusion. The golden age of Hollywood was built on illusion, not just the fantasy worlds of the movies, but the false images of the stars themselves. While some of these actors' flaws may be viewed in the context of their time, others committed acts that remain reprehensible by any standard. The studios may have been able to protect their reputations then, but today, the truth is far harder to hide. These stories serve as a reminder that the icons we admire on screen are often very different from the people they are in real life, and that sometimes the most skillful performance is the one they give when the cameras aren't rolling.